The 2024 Major League Baseball season is now over with the Los Angeles Dodgers as your new 2024 World Series champions. In basketball, the Chicago Bulls are 3-2. How do they do it? We'll give you the secret formula to their early season success. In football, the Chicago Bears are pointing fingers. Will they point them at Arizona and say, "You're a loser"? We'll give you the answers to that question. That and our girl, Miss Christine, the Queen Manika, joins us for our Week 9 NFL picks, and we have a special edition of Old School TV Monday to commemorate a special anniversary. That and a whole lot more as a hashtag Football Friday edition of Second City Sports starts right now. Welcome to another fun-filled hashtag Football Friday edition of Second City Sports. We're live in living color right here on Sports Soul Chicago, along with Miss Lakina McGee, which is she. I am Sidney Brown. You know that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at CK80. Once again, it's CK80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow my Kingdom McGee on the Twitter, X, again, IG.
Be sure to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms. That's Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast. We are located at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And while you're at it, please give War Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We're not unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinions during our 2-hour extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio show, you can always hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago YouTube. Type in those questions or comments to the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. But you decide to troll and or do something silly, dumb, or stupid, even though it's the day after Halloween. As I always say, I've given Lakina full powers to give you bums the bill and Bill boot.
Toodles.
Love it. But before we begin, we must remind you, once the issues are fixed, you can catch Sports on Chicago's programming, including Second City Sports, live in living color on Roku TV. That's right. So celebrate the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV once the issues are fixed. So if you already have Roku television, just tap on the Sports Phone and download that Sports Zone Chicago app. If you don't have a Roku television, you have some handheld devices laying around, just hit up the Google Play Store, download that Roku TV app, and access Sports Zone Chicago through that avenue. So no more excuses. Celebrate the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV once the issues are fixed. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Live and on demand.
Anytime, anywhere, once the issues are fixed.
And you know we will provide. And they did mess up my intro this time.
Happy first day of November, here on Second City Sports. We're going to keep it flowing here with some great sports talk as usual. As Sid said in the teaser, we've got Week 10 of college football, kind of a light slate, but we'll still preview it nonetheless. Our girl Christine Matt from KXRB is back with us for our Week 9 NFL picks. It's getting a little close in our overall pick'ems. We'll tell you guys more about that. Yes. A special Friday edition of Old School TV Monday, and a special anniversary, and a whole lot more. Kind of a somber one, but kind of a celebration too, nonetheless. But we'll get to all that in a minute. But first, Sid, let's go to Arizona, and there we'll be previewing Bears Cardinals. And well, I mean, look, you want to say this is a must-win game for the Bears? Fine, but it just kind of seems like, I know Jonah Williams is out for the Cardinals. He's one of their left tackles. For the Bears, looks like Brisker might miss another game with a concussion. Kyler Gordon didn't practice again most of this week, so they're going to be shorthanded again. This is gonna be the late game for the Bears. Of course, it's a single header game for CBS, so that's the only game you're gonna have on there at 3:05 for kickoff. But Sid, what do you think? Is this a must win for the Bears?
I think it is from this standpoint, given the fact what happened in our nation's capital last Sunday and the finger pointing that's been going on in Hallis Hall all throughout this week. Well, we're going to keep it in house. Yes, there's a promise, but we got to keep it in house. I defend this decision. I defend that decision. And the players looking at the coaches like, are you kidding me? We had this issue once before in the Colts game, but I digress. All the infighting within the media and other media pundits in town calling out the coaching staff and the coaching staff. I get it from the standpoint of defending your team, standing firm on the bad decisions. It is a must-win game for the Bears. And what I take from that is, if you're the Bears, thank goodness this game is on the road and not at home, because if you were at home, all the other extra media that do not cover this team on a regular basis would have been at this game. But since the game is on the road, you only have your beat reporters there covering the game. So the pressure will be all there when it comes to the media. Now, on the field, Kyler Murray, we saw what he's been doing so far early this year as we're getting to near the halfway point in the year. He's been playing very good. He's a 1 year removed from that torn ACL. He has some targets. Marvin Harrison Jr., even though he's been dinged up for the last couple of weeks. Don't forget about Trey McBride, his go-to guy at tight end. He's going to be a key. He should be a key for this Bears defense to be focused on this week. And I'm looking at those Bears linebackers with Tremaine Edmonds, Jack Sanborn, and TJ Edwards. They're going to be key to what the Bears are going to do in defense coming up on Sunday.
You listen to Second City Sports on Sports Social Chicago. Like Keenan McGee, Sidney Brown with you, previewing Bears Cardinals here on Second City Sports. I mean, I guess you could say that, you know, it's all about getting that big start for Caleb Williams and the Bears. They didn't do that to come off a bye against the Commanders. They haven't done it all season long. You're going against the Cardinals defense. That's, well, I don't want to say. Well, look, you got they're not exactly world beaters, but they're definitely the team that can kind of give. They're very opportunistic, as I think I should say, that Cardinals defense. So for me, I think, you kind of want to try to, get that, get the ball moving, move the chains, get DeAndre Swift the ball, and perhaps maybe get those guys to kind of like get it going and everything else. I think it's gonna be one of those things where you're just gonna, kind of wonder. You got to set the tone early for the Bears, because if not, Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison and James Conner. That's another guy. Remember him, folks? That's another guy you kind of have to. We know the Bears' run defense has been very questionable these last couple games. So for me, I think if you're the Cardinals, you want to try to maybe use him a lot more and maybe not to depend on Kyler too much, throwing. And maybe, look, we know Kyler can still move around even after coming off of ACL surgery. So I think for me, you got to set the tone early if you're the Bears. You just got to.
Taking a look at the numbers from both teams going into this game on Sunday down in the desert. On offense, the Bears are ranked third from last, while the Cardinals offense ranks number 10. Total defense, Cardinals 27th, the Bears are 6th. In passing, the Bears are third from the bottom, while Arizona checks in at number 19. And in rushing, as you just talked about, Lakina, Arizona is the 7th best in rushing of football in the National Football League, while the Bears are at 23rd. Now, as well as I do in our audience that I defended this offense for the last 3 weeks before the winning streak came to a halt last Sunday afternoon in D.C. But the Bears offense did show some life in that second half. As you mentioned, Caleb Williams, he has to get off to a better start. He rebounded in that same game against Washington, even though they came out and lost, which was not his fault. Like you said, the Bears have to get back to being consistent like they were the previous 3 weeks. Get off to a fast start. Stick with your game plan. Make the other team has to play your style of ball, because if that happens, you're in total control. If not, you'll start to see some more cracks like you did last week in Washington.
Like Buda Baker, and I'm assuming he's going to be guarding DJ Moore. That's going to be an interesting matchup there on Sunday. That's kind of going to be like sort of the thing where we'll see if, but that kind of sets the tone a little bit for the Cardinals defense. So I think for me, the Cardinals are 4-4. I know some people, you could probably say, because some of the picks he did, they could probably have a better record right now had they not had a couple little hiccups here and there. They're still right there to think of it in the NFC West. So this is just as much a must win for them as well to kind of stay within that range and ahead of that the NFC West. So for me, I think, look, like this Cardinals team is, are they the greatest? No, but they're not like terrible either. Look, they gave teams fits last year with Murray being out. So this is not a gimme. I know people say, "Oh, the Cardinals are eat." No. If unless you've actually seen them this year, you can't say that. So the Bears, I think they were very lax. We'll see how you respond with that Hail Mary. Again, do I think they can win? Sure, of course they do have a chance, but I think this is going to be the thing where, like the guys said told earlier, because with all the finger pointing, with all the stuff going on this week, we'll see how much of a distraction that'll be.
You mentioned with the Arizona Cardinals taking a look closely at their 4-4 regular season. Like you said, they could be 6-2 right now, or at least 5-3. I know they played Buffalo to the T on opening day, and they did cover the spread, which is least important, but they almost could have won that game. I know they had a lackluster effort against the Packers a few weeks ago, even though Marvin Harrison Jr. was knocked out of the game with a concussion, but they won their last two games with the late second field goals, including the one in their last game last week at Miami, which Miami did play well. They should have won that game, but Arizona hung tough and they stole that one. Let's not forget too early in the season, despite what you may think of this team currently, but Arizona played San Francisco tough on the road. It got another tough road victory there early in the year. So this Cardinals team, you could say, if you really keep it 100, as the kids would say, they mirror the Bears. It's just that the Bears have a one less loss than the Cardinals right now.
Yeah, and you probably say that in the talent department, you probably say that the Bears have a little bit more talent than the Cardinals. But look, I mean, the Cardinals, like I said, they beat San Francisco, basically stole a win from them on the road. So look, it's used to kind of grinding out a victory. So if they force you to play their style of football, look, they may have a shot, perhaps maybe pulling off the upset, I guess, if you want to call it that. So I know some people, must win for the Bears. I mean, yeah, maybe so, but I think, look, we're seeing kind of a mirror image of what the Bears, as the late Dating Green would say, who we thought they were. This team is not, look, they could beat, some of the bench warmers, if you will. I'm not going to say the other word that people use, but I think it's a little bit insulting. They could beat the bench warmers like, Josh Dobbs. They beat, Will Levis, guys like that. Once they start getting a step up in class when it comes to quarterback and team wise, look, they show you who you are, and I think, look, it's going to be interesting to see like how we pick this game, because look, do I trust the Bears? Perhaps maybe bounce back, maybe, but again, they haven't proven to me that they will, so I don't know.
And going back to the Hallis Hall foolishness from this past week, I know you're a big soap opera fan, Lakina. For those of you that just joined us for the first time, I know Tyreek Stevenson apologized to the media on Monday for what he did or didn't do in their last sequence against the Washington Commanders last week. But I saw on Twitter last night that he was supposed to be suspended, not suspended, but he's not going to start. He's not going to start the game on Sunday. He'll play if he won't start. I don't know how true that is, but we'll see what happens there. But as far as this coaching staff, I told you I'm out with everybody on this coaching staff. I'm Eberflus, Shane Waldron on down. But the players, if you listen to them closely this week, in particular DJ Moore and to a lesser extent Cole Kmet, there are cracks in the armor that leads you to believe that this coaching staff, they are very inexperienced, that they don't know what they're doing. But as I said on our last show on Monday, and I'll quote the great Teddy Bruschi, how you get back on track is how you turn it around mentally. Because if you don't, and the season spirals out of control, it's going to get uglier than what we all anticipate. Because after this week, you play New England at home next week. After that, your season's on line with perhaps the toughest schedule on paper from here on out.
We'll take a really quick break, of course. We'll do our picks, after the top of the hour with our Christy Man from KXRB. But we're going to stay in the gridiron coming up next as we a short recap of the Jets upsetting the Texans yesterday on Thursday Night Football, I should say. And, let's just say it was had a little bit of everything, if you will. So we'll talk about that. Also, go to Week 10 of college football. Could a couple of teams be on upset alert? We got a big matchup with the Big Ten coming up next as well. So we'll get all that and a whole lot more. Lakina McGee, Cindy Brown, Second City Sports. On Sports of Chicago, more gridiron talk coming up right after this.
No, I don't know, though. I'm scared. I mean, you're so
know that you're in my lane? No, not at all. Are you not paying attention? Are you texting?
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too. These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
And I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you, your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to Second City Sports. We're live in the living color on the hashtag Football Friday, the first show for the month of November, right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter X and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow my Kenny McGee on the Twitter X and again the IG.
We have exactly 85 minutes left or so in this extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio. Get you set for Week 10 in college football. You can hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions and comments in the comment section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you.
A mild upset in Jersey as the Jets defeat the Texans 21-13. The game where, like I said, it had a little bit of everything. Aaron Rodgers, not his best showing, 211 yards and 3 touchdowns, one of his best this season. CJ Stroud, 191 yards, but he was sacked 8 times. So you got to think that O-line. We talked about it when they faced the Bears a few weeks back. they're gonna have to beef with the O line if they want to, go past the division. 106 yards and TD for Joe Mixon, and Brees Hall had 74 rushing yards, but it was Garrett Wilson who was the player of the game. 90 receiving yards and two TDs, including one catch. So it was just insane. I know you got, I'm sure all y'all saw out there. Around social media and such. But yeah, I mean, a nice win for the Jets that they needed desperately.
Let's give the Jets defense some credit. Clearly, their best game of the year as a unit. Now, Hassan Reddick did not play last night, but they put CJ Stroud on the ground 7 times, folks. 7 sacks by this Jets gangrene defense. And you mentioned on the flip side for the Texans, now you lose Stephon Diggs for the year. With the torn ACL. Nico Collins did not play last night. I know Joe Mixon is really, as I said, I continue to say this, he's the star that makes that Houston Texans offense goes. But when you miss your top 2 receivers, and that's going to be trouble for anybody, and that's what the Texans ran into last night. The Jets were at home. Their backs were against the wall. They're still against the wall, even though they're 3-6 now. They were playing with more desperation. Houston has a little wiggle room, but not much. But the Jets are a more desperate team last night, and they played like it.
Yeah, I think it's sort of one of those things where it was kind of like a trap game. But yeah, 8 sacks for that Houston defense, and I mean that Jets defense, I should say. And it'll be interesting to see how the Texans kind of respond, because look, that O line is a little. I said about that O line. That O line is a little bit scary, so I'm kind of worried about how that O line is. They may have to make a couple of trades, make a trade or two to kind of beef up that O line. Diggs is done for the year, so that's going to be a big problem. Nico Collins, hopefully he's back soon. On the flip side, though, for the Jets, I mean, look, the Jets needed this win desperately. They're 3-6 now. I don't know if that'll be enough to try to turn the season around, but again, you never know. So, but yeah, this was definitely, if anything, this win was a big boost for them around because they needed it.
And don't forget, the Jets have a tough schedule coming up for them as well. Now, on the flip side for Houston, they're 2-3 away from home. I am concerned, despite all the injuries and other circumstances, I'm concerned about Houston, the way they are playing on the road. Check out these 3 losses. They got dominated at Minnesota. They lost the game you should have won at Green Bay, and then you dropped another egg last night against the Jets, against a lesser opponent. It's just something to keep in mind when you watch the Houston Texans, the way they play on the road. Because if they had to go on the road for the playoffs, the way they're playing right now, it's going to be trouble for them.
Going to be very interesting to see what happens.
Maybe that's D'Amico Ryan's calling you.
It might be. That might. So you take it from here, Sid. I'll let me.
You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid Lakina here with you. Now we're going to transition to previewing some of the top games in college football coming up this weekend in week number 10. And of course, tonight's schedule looks like this at 6 p.m. on the CBS Sports Network. We have Georgia State taking on UConn at 6:30 on ESPN2. We'll have South Florida in the Battle of Florida at FAU State in Boca Raton, Florida. Florida Atlantic will host South Florida there at 7 o'clock on FS1. We will have San Diego State against number 15 Boise State. They are 6-1 right now, 3-0 in the Mountain West. And you have a top Heisman candidate for the running back for Boise State named Ashton Jeanty. He has 159 carries on the year, over 1,376 rushing yards and 18 rushing touchdowns. Keep your eye on him. He's a top Heisman candidate according to many pundits in the running for the Heisman Trophy. You'll get to see him in action tonight. Other finals to pass along of importance early this week in college football. Just one game, in my opinion. It was Tulane getting by Charlotte by the score of 34-3 last night. Tulane improves their record to 72, 5-0 in the American Conference. Now we get to tomorrow's big games. Of course, it will start with the Big Ten at 11 o'clock in the morning on Big News Saturday on Fox. It's number 4 Ohio State. The Buckeyes will travel to Beaver Stadium to take on number 3 Penn State. Ohio State 6-1 on the year. Penn State 7-0. Of course, Will Howard will lead the Ohio State Buckeyes offense. He has 17 touchdown passes and 4 interceptions on the year. Of course, Penn State's starting quarterback got nicked up last week. We'll see if he'll play. On the flip side for the Ohio State Buckeyes, Jeremiah Smith, another top candidate for the Heisman Trophy. Their star wide receiver. He has 35 catches for over 623 yards and 8 receiving touchdowns. It's going to be another close game, in my opinion. Both these teams are high-power offenses, but their defenses for both sides are not bad either. I know Ohio State is favored by 3 points. Penn State, I'm not sure if they're going to get that starting quarterback to return tomorrow. If they do, I think they will have a chance. But if they don't, I think it's going to be a long day for them. But as of right now, I'm putting this pick and pencil for yours truly. I'm going with Ohio State in a close one. 11 a.m. on ABC and ESPN Plus, the number 5 undefeated, the University of Miami, checking in at 8-0. They'll host the 6-2 Duke Blue Devils, of course. The star of the game you should watch for this one is another Heisman Trophy candidate, the Miami Hurricanes quarterback Cam Ward. He has over 2,700 passing yards, 24 passing touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. You saw what they did against Louisville a couple weeks ago in that shootout. Of course, they beat Florida State last Saturday night at home. Duke, surprisingly, having a good year. They're led by their star running back, Star Thomas. Yes, that's his name, folks. 151 carries, 681 rushing yards, and 5 touchdowns. Lakina, now that you're back, I think Miami may be in a surprise fight early, but I expect them to pull away at the end. They're favored by 21 points.
Yeah, I think they do will keep it close. No, Manny Diaz, where he played in Miami, so I'm sure there's going to be a lot of incentive for him to want to be his alma mater. But I mean, look, I think Duke has been a really solid team all season long. They'll definitely stay with Miami for a little bit, but I think Miami, with their talent and their depth, I think that's going to get them in the end. So I think they'll be okay. I would say take the under on that one. Going back to Ohio State Penn State game, I mean, I think Ohio State might have gotten caught looking ahead a little bit. They're having their troubles with Nebraska last week, but yeah, Penn State, just coming off a bye, so it's gonna be interesting to see how both teams' mindset's gonna be. So this is gonna be an interesting fight here for over there at Happy Valley. So it should be a good one over there. So yeah, it's gonna be a very entertaining game. I think it's definitely one of those pick'em games. So we'll see what happens there. Now, Ole Miss and Arkansas, it's gonna also be at 11 a.m. on ESPN. Air Force and undefeated Army. That's going to be CBS and Paramount Plus. That should be a good matchup there for Army, because Army is one of those 7 or 8 teams that are still undefeated. So could be interesting to see what they can do here, because they're going to have the national spotlight and such. So they shouldn't have no trouble with a 1-6 Air Force squad. So they should be okay there, because they're that's going to go the Commander-in-Chief trophy, so that's going to be interesting there. The Big Ten Network, you got Minnesota and Illinois. I know Illinois wants to bounce back from that loss to Oregon, to hammer by Oregon last week. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this is definitely one of those pick'em games on FS1 at 11 o'clock.
I'm looking for Brett Bielema's crew to have a bounce back performance. Like you said, they're at home. They're playing a tough Minnesota Golden Gophers team. They're having a resurgence right now over the last few weeks. They're 5-3, 1 game in back of Illinois. Illinois, like you said, this is going to be a pride check game for them. I'm looking for the Illinois defense to stop Max Brosmer. Of course, he's having a good year, 12 touchdown passes, 4 interceptions. Of course, you got to look out for Darius Taylor. He has 7 rushing touchdowns on the year, over 500 rushing yards. But Lakina, the way that Illinois beat Michigan 2 weeks ago, you had to pressure the quarterback, play careless, what's the word I'm looking for? You got to play close to damn near perfect football, limit the turnovers, create turnovers over defense, and rush the quarterback, but run the football. Run the football. I think this Illinois team can do that. It's going to be close, but you got limited turnovers on offense, pressure Max Brosmer, and I think you can walk away with this victory. You know how much I love PJ Fleck. I do. He's a poor man's Pete Carroll, but I think Illinois will bounce back mightily, and I think they'll pull this one out late at the end.
Going to be interesting to see how that defense stops Darius Taylor. He's one of the top running backs in the conference, so that's going to be a tough assignment for Brett Bielema and his guys. Saying the Big Ten got Northwestern and Purdue. That's going to be on BTN. Purdue's been playing a lot better lately, so I'm David Braun. I will make sure his guys are kind of on their toes there for this one. Stanford and NC State in the ACC network at 11 a.m. Virginia Tech and Syracuse should be a good matchup. That's going to be on the CW network, WGN, here in Chicago with some of the other games. Memphis and UTSA, the Roadrunners, beep beep, 11 a.m. on ESPN2. Unfortunately, going to be shorthanded. I think they have some of the key guys out, so that should be a tough one between them and Memphis. That should be a good one there. Vanderbilt off the tough loss to Texas. They face Auburn on the SEC Network at 11:45 on SEC Plus. You got Maine and Oklahoma. Oklahoma probably need this kind of win after the last few weeks, so they should have no trouble with the Black Bears of Maine. Going into the 2:30 matchups, you got Oregon, number 1 Oregon at Michigan. That's going to be on CBS and Paramount Plus at 2:30.
We'll see how Michigan's defense responds. I know they got dominated by Illinois a couple of weeks ago on the road. They had a nice bounce back win against Michigan State last Saturday night, but this is going to be a different animal against Dylan Gabriel in the Oregon Ducks. We all know that Oregon is ranked number 1 in the country. They're ranked number 1 for a reason. Their offense can explode and score at any time. And Oregon, I know people want to talk about the time change of them going on to the East Coast, but this is the time they usually play afternoon football. It'll be 2:30 here in Chicago, but 12:30 on the West Coast. So I don't think the time change is going to bother the Ducks. But I'm looking for Dylan Gabriel to have a big game on offense for Michigan. Who's going to be their quarterback? Because they do not have one right now. And if you let that defense hang around for Michigan, they will keep you in the ball game. But you got to put some points on it. But I don't think Michigan's going to do enough to keep up with their Oregon offense. I know Oregon's favored by 14.5, but if this gets in the shootout, Michigan's going to lose automatically.
And our buddy Natalie Spala from ABC affiliate in DC. I know, how do you not have a quarterback from Michigan? I know she could go on all day about that one. Florida and Georgia, 2:30 on ABC with their annual. They haven't said the cocktail party in years, but this is their annual match in Jacksonville. Florida actually has been playing better lately, kind of quietly. Georgia, we'll see. I mean, they've had a couple big wins those last few weeks, so it should be a good one down there in Jacksonville. That's where they play the Jaguars. That's where they play. Big 12, Iowa State still undefeated. They face Texas Tech on ESPN. Indiana and Michigan State. That game's going to be streaming on Peacock. Does Michigan State have a shot?
They may have a shot, Lakina, but I think Indiana is just on an emotional high right now. They're 8-0 in the 5-0, 8-0 overall, 5-0 in the Big Ten. I know they got a big win against Washington last week, but like you said, this could be a setup for a trap game because this is another Big Ten opponent for Indiana. They're on the road. Michigan, I know they lost a tough one they played Michigan tough last week at home, but Michigan they're playing free. The pressure is not on them. The pressure is on Indiana. They're the big surprise in college football this year. I know that the spread is 7.5 at Indiana. I think Indiana will get out of there barely alive, but I think Michigan State can keep this close. I really do.
It's going to be interesting, though. I'm sure Kurtz can get me and he'll have his guys ready. I know they've been kind of afraid. Game day was there last week, and kind of feeling about themselves. But I'm sure Kurtz can get is going to probably make sure he has their ego in check. So we'll see how that goes there. Fox second game of that quadruple header. You got K-State and Houston at 2:30. You got UCLA and Nebraska on the Big Ten Network. North Carolina and Florida State, two struggle teams, if you will. That's going to be on the ACC Network at 2:30. Same time, we got Arizona and UCF in the Big 12. I know, confusion. I know, it's kind of confusing. I know. The True TV and Max game of the week, you got Wyoming and New Mexico at 3 o'clock. Let's go into these. A couple of good ones here. And the prime time at 6:30 on AB. Well, actually, first, Arizona State and Oklahoma State on FS1 at 6 o'clock. And at 6:30, you got Texas A&M and South Carolina on ABC at 6:30.
Continuing with the primetime schedule, Louisville will travel to Clemson to take on the 11th ranked Tigers. Of course, we're not talking about them, Lakina. But the Clemson Tigers, it looks like they're on their way back. They're 6-1 right now, 5-0 in the ACC. Louisville, we talked about them. They lost the shootout to the Miami Hurricanes a couple of weeks ago. Do you think Louisville has a chance to at least keep it close?
I think they do. I think, look, Louisville, but then we saw them against Notre Dame, so that kind of, out there. But look, Louisville's, they always have Jeff Brown always has his guys playing well, so that should be interesting. See what happens there. Now Clemson, look, they're kind of been quietly, won 6 in a row since the opening loss to Georgia. I think if you're Dabo Sweeney, I think he actually likes it that way. I think he likes the fact no one's really talking about them. I don't think he minds that at all. Cole Kubik, 20 TDs and 3 interceptions. He's been playing very well since the Georgia game. Maffa for Clemson, he has 6 touchdowns. One of my favorite guys on that squad, that Clemson squad, got Antonio Williams. He has 6 TDs. So, but it should be interesting. It could be one of those early on. It could be one of those track meet kind of games. But I think Clemson has the talent to kind of pull it off late. So I'm not too worried about Clemson down there in Death Valley against Louisville. But we'll see. It should be an interesting game, nonetheless, down there in South Carolina.
You're listening to Second City Sports Zone Chicago City. Lakina here with you on the first #Football Friday program for the month of November as we preview the key games in Week 10 in college football at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time on NBC. Here comes Saturday night as Kinnick Stadium, as Lakina would say, will be rocking as both 5-3 teams will take the field between the Wisconsin Badgers and the Iowa Hawkeyes. For Iowa, they are favored by 2 points at home. You have to look out for their star running back, Caleb Johnson. He has 16 rushing touchdowns on the year. But for Wisconsin, if they can pull out the upset, Braden Locke, their star quarterback, has to play a whole lot better. He has 7 touchdowns and 6 interceptions on the year.
Could be interesting to see what happens in that Wisconsin Iowa game. It's always interesting when these two teams face each other. Kinnick Stadium at night. Good, all kinds of stuff out here for some very, very weird, happening here. But yeah, it could be one of those whoever has the ball last wins. So this could be kind of one of those kinds of games. So if you like defense, this might not be the game for you. So we'll see what happens there. A couple of all Pac-10/Pac-12 rivals now face each other in the Big Ten as USC and Washington play each other on the Big Ten Network. I know it's weird, folks. I know. I'm sorry. 6:45 on SC. Then we got Kentucky at Tennessee. A good one here in the ACC. I'm a little surprised it's on the big networks, but I digress. You got number 18, Pittsburgh, undefeated. Number 18, Pittsburgh against SMU at 7 o'clock on the ACC network. They're up to SMU. They're undefeated in the ACC. They're 7-1. This should be a really good matchup. That should be getting more attention. But again, what do I know? What do I know?
Yeah, Eli Holston for Pittsburgh, their star quarterback, 17 touchdowns and 5 interceptions on the year. He's been carrying the Pittsburgh Panthers offense. Also to their star wide receiver, Kanata Mumpfield, I should say, 27 catches, 473 yards and 3 touchdowns. But on the flip side for SMU, watch out for Brashard Smith, their star running back, 745 rushing yards and 9 rushing touchdowns. So look out for him to have the SMU offense explode on the field for this game.
And the good news for them, Kevin James, who I think was a little bit banged up in our last game, was he's been cleared to play. So that'll make a big difference there for the Mustangs. So should be a good one down there outside of Dallas. Should be a very interesting game in the ACC for that contest. In the Big 12, you got TCU and Baylor at 7 o'clock on ESPN2. And last but not least, sort of a light schedule here. Not a lot of late games, which might be a good thing if you're once you get your sleep. Colorado State, Nevada completes that triple header there on CBS Sports Network, and that's your schedule for this week in college football.
All right, you're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid Lakina here with you. So staying with college football for the remainder of this hour, as we have just a couple of minutes left. Has any of your players' positions changed as far as your top 3 or top 5 Heisman Trophy candidates? I mentioned Ashton Jeanty, the star running back from Boise State. He'll play late tonight on FS1. Of course, you have Cam Ward, the Miami Hurricanes, who's up there. I know some people will say Miller Moss of USC, but they're having a mediocre year at 4-4. Who else do you have in your top 5 Heisman candidates for this year?
I mean, look, it'll be interesting to see how, like I said, I'm not there with the Heisman thing. This is usually the time of year when, you start, the whole Heisman talk, because, upsets happen, injuries happen. So it's going to be interesting to see kind of like how all this sort of flows around. But I would say those are my top two so far, like really in no order. I guess you could say the Indiana quarterback. I think, like I said last week, I mean, he could be, a sleeper there. I think Dylan Gabriel could definitely, if he kind of he's been able to limit the turnover. So if he can kind of keep it going these next few weeks, he might be finding himself in New York as well. So yeah, I think at this point of the season, you kind of have to sort of just like, you gotta, this is actually the time of year when the Heisman talk really starts floating around. We were more than halfway through the season. You got about 6 weeks left, about 6 weeks left after this. So you still got a lot to kind of mesh here with all the stuff going on. So it could come down to like little things, like maybe, like I said, injuries and losses and such. So because if Boise State loses, you got to think Genty might be out of the running. So it's gonna be just kind of like where all this sort of plays out these next I would say maybe next 4 or 5 weeks, I think. So it's gonna be kind of like tight, and it's gonna be a toss-up race at this point. Yeah, of course you got Travis Hunter from Colorado. We'll see how they finish up their season. Talk about Colorado. So this is usually these next 3 or 4 weeks are gonna be crucial for the Heisman race.
And speaking of Colorado, since they have this week off, you mentioned Travis Hunter. I think he's a lock first-round pick as long as he stays healthy, especially with that shoulder he injured a few weeks ago. What about Shedeur Sanders? I know their offensive line for Colorado has been hit and miss these last couple of weeks, but for the most part, Shedeur Sanders is having a better year than he did a year ago. Because remember, around this time, everything started to unravel, and the offensive line played like crap. And then Shedeur Sanders, even though he still had a good year, his statistics suffered because he had a bad offensive line. It is almost totally flipped this year. Do you think if Boise State loses, hopefully not tonight, but in the next few weeks, do you think Shedeur Sanders slides into that top 5 spot for the Heisman Trophy?
They usually don't like to give it to teams where 3 or 4 losses, so it shouldn't affect Genty too much. But again, it's going to be how they lose. They lose. If he has a good game and they still lose, hey, great. If he doesn't play well because they end up losing, that's really, some people may not like that. So I think it's really going to depend on how the mindset is of the voters. We know the voters can have very different ways on how they do this kind of thing. So it'll be interesting to see kind of all of these next few weeks. It's going to be interesting who kind of separates himself in the Heisman race, but still a lot to be decided.
Okay. Stay tuned for more sports and more fun as Second City Sports continues with our homegirl, Miss Christine the Queen Manika, with her Week 9 NFL picks and much more. You're listening to Sports Zone Chicago.
No, I don't know, though. I'm scared. I mean, you're so...
Do you know that you're in my lane? No, not at all. Are you not paying attention? Are you texting? I was just checking in with my mom. I was telling her that I thought we'd be home by 6. It's okay. There's enough time. Just pay attention. I'm not even halfway through my text. There's no way. I'm not even going to look up. My babies are in the car. You have to pay attention. It's just supposed to be a quick text. I'm so sorry.
Hi, I'm Tom Brady, the director of DODEA. September is National Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. The simple act of reaching out and caring for those in our communities is something we all can do. Just being there for someone you care about can be a tremendous first step in getting them access to confidential resources and support that they need. It only takes one person and one small act and 1 minute to make a difference. Let's make a difference.
Move it!
Many will hear the calling,
Few will earn the title. United States Marine. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Second City Sports on this hashtag Football Friday edition, the first one for the month of November. You're live in 11 color right here on Sports Soul Chicago. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. You can follow yours surely on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow my kid on the Twitter, X, and IG.
As we kick off hour number 2, you have any questions or comments for us as we do our NFL picks with our very special guest, you can always hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments to the comment section. Lakina will get the up on the screen for you.
All right, so let's not waste any time. Let's get our girl out here from KXRB in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. She is our girl, your girl, Miss Christy, the Queen, Manika. What's up, Christy?
Hey!
Hey, how are you?
We're doing great. How about yourself?
We're doing good.
Nice,
right,
nice.
Yeah, before we get to our NFL picks, Christine, where were you last Sunday around 6:35 Central Standard Time, where the Bears snatched the loss from the jaws of victory at the Washington Commanders?
You know, funny enough, so I teach, I volunteer, I should say, teaching high schoolers religious education. So I just left the end of the Bears game, and my husband, Chris, was texting me, and he said, okay, I think we're going to do it. I think we're going to win. And then not so long after that, he's like, are you sitting down? And that's when I just said what happened. Then he's like, don't look at Twitter. He's like, don't look at anything for the next hour. Just wait till you get home. I'll tell you. So that's when I heard about the Hail Mary and what happened, and what a way to end a game. I said it was just like the Bears to lift up every fan's spirits and then to crush them just like that.
Very, yeah, like we said, a very Bearsy way for them to lose that game.
Yep.
But yeah. So that was just a brutal loss. We'll see if they can bounce back from that game. So going into our week 9 picks here, and interesting because we got interesting development coming up with our little picks here. Christine, you and I are actually now tied with 61 wins overall. And Sid, you're bringing up the werewolf games back. So
how many games back?
So, four.
Okay. That's still time. It's still time.
Sid!
It's still time. It's still time. I'm just getting warmed up here. As I said last week, the big dogs got to eat. Big dogs got to eat.
Well, yeah. The good news is look, we still got. We're not even like halfway through the season. We're just like halfway through the season now. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens here these next few weeks. But we might be just in some of these games. We'll see what happens. Now, for those of you who are wondering, the 49ers and the Steelers are on bye, so adjust your fantasy teams accordingly. Because Lord, I had to do it. I had a lot of 49ers on my fantasy team. I had to do a lot of adjusting here. But if you have Russell Wilson. Right. I mean, if you have Russell Wilson, Brock Purdy, the Steelers defense, 49ers defense, you got to adjust it for this week. And I have both, so I had to bring in a couple of extra rears here. But let's get right to it. Well, I guess depending on how you look at it, you got the Cowboys and the Falcons. The Falcons have been kind of on a roll lately. Sid, you start this one for us.
I don't want to make it the pick for this game, but the reason why I said that is because the way these two teams are playing. Now, the Falcons did respond to my challenge last week by beating Tampa Bay in Tampa because Tampa is beat up injury-wise. The Cowboys laid a big fat egg despite that comeback last Sunday night at San Francisco. This is the time you'll think that the Falcons will take off and dominate the NFC North. You will think the Cowboys will find a way to win when no one expects it. I really don't like making this pick. I really don't, but I'm going to be a sucker for this one. I'm going with the Falcons. They're favored by 3.5 at home.
I'm only saying this pick because statistically, they are better when they are away, when they are at home, and they need this win right now. I'm going with the Cowboys just because exactly what I said. Statistically, this year, they are way better when they are away, when they are at home, and they need the win.
I don't want to pick this game. Do we have to pick this game? Because I honestly don't know. This game could
Right.
go. Yeah, I mean, this game could really go either way. So I would say I'm only picking Atlanta just because they're at home. But if look, if Dallas they need this win, desperately. So if Dallas ends up winning, having their best game of the season, I wouldn't be surprised. But like I said, for now, since I've been on a roll, I'll pick Atlanta just because I just think that for this moment, we're November 1st now. Atlanta's just better, I think. That's just my opinion. So we'll see. It should be an interesting game. I might watch this game via computer. We'll see. I haven't decided yet. I'm gonna keep my sanity. You got the Broncos and the Ravens. I don't think anybody had both these teams at 5-3 when they were facing each other. Lamar Jackson, he's a little bit banged up. So Christine, you start this one for us.
I think this is going to be another get right game for the Ravens coming off a upset, a really tough loss last week, a surprising loss by a lot of people. And the Broncos say what you want about Sean Payton, but he's cooking up something. He knows how to work with young quarterbacks, and Bo Nix is someone that he's willing to work with, and we're kind of seeing that as the season goes on. But I think the Ravens are built better right now when it comes to coaching and the talent on the team. So I'm gonna go with the Ravens here. It's a good game for them to get back on track.
Don't let your husband hear about that pick. I'm going with Baltimore here too, and I'm starting their defense over Chicago's defense in my fantasy football league as of this live broadcast. As you mentioned, Christine, shocking loss last week on the road by Baltimore. They're at home. They'll rebound. They'll get the dub, as the kids would say. And they are talking about Baltimore. They are favored by 9 points at home.
Yeah, I know that the Broncos are 2-0. Going out east and playing new games, but I just think that Baltimore. I know Lamar Jackson's been a little bit banged up, like I said, but there's no way they could lose to they can't lose to Denver, right? I mean, they got Deontay Johnson now, so that should help them out a little bit. Beefing up the receiving core for them, and I think they need to get some secondary guys. But again, that's just me. But yeah, I think this is another good get right game for them. So yeah, they should be able to. They should do okay against the Broncos, but we'll see. Going to Buffalo, if you will, the Dolphins and the Bills in the AFC East. If you had told me about this matchup earlier this season, I probably would say give it to Miami. But since Buffalo's been playing well, I know Miami is kind of. I know Tyreek Hill's been banged up, and I know Tua's just starting to get his groove going again. But I just think that Buffalo is just a better team at the moment, and it'll be a close one, but I think Buffalo pulls away. I feel like.
I'm going with Buffalo too. This one was kind of an easy pick for me, I feel like, just because the Bills have been playing really well, and he's getting back on track to what he was looking like the first couple of weeks. And Tua, again, you don't know what to expect out of him, especially when he's just getting back into the swing of things. And Tyreek Hill, he's just getting back in after being hurt for a little bit as well.
No breakdown for me here. I'm going with Buffalo. They're favored by 6 at home.
Ooh, 6 at home. Okay, so I guess Vegas probably knows a little something here. Saints and Panthers in the NFC South. Do we have to pick this one too? But I'll say this. I'll say New Orleans. Just keep it short and sweet.
The bright side, Derek Carr's coming back. The Saints.
Yeah, make it 3 in a row. Saints. They're favored by 7 points on a roll. I'm talking about New Orleans.
All right. Oh, well, really quick. We were short and sweet with that one. Like it. Shout out to everybody's Proteus will have this game. I was hoping he would get the Bears Cardinals game. This is a CBS game. This one coming up. Let's see. You got the Chargers and the Browns, and I know Jameis Winston's been playing very well for the Browns. I know the Chargers are going cross country. I'm picking the Chargers just because they're a little bit better. I know they're a little bit banged up, but I just think that I just think that the Chargers, though they still got good shots in that wild card spot. So I know the Browns played well last week, upsetting Baltimore, but I just think the Chargers are a better squad. I think, especially with all the rumors about Myles Garrett and all those rumors, I'm picking the Chargers.
Short and sweet Chargers. They're favored by 1.5 on the road. So it's basically I had to pick them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm about to shock both of you. I'm picking the Browns.
Uh-oh. Are you okay, Christine? Are you okay? Do we need to check up on you? Are your head's okay?
I'm fine. Winston,
Okay.
he had a typical, we talked about this last week on the show. He had a typical Jameis Winston game. Dramatic fashion, little bit of hiccups here and there, and was able to pull out the win. I think, maybe they could still ride on this high and the fans could be with them on this. And the Chargers are banged up. That's clear for anybody to see that. And if it's a pick 'em, I'll take the under on this. Go for the other side.
All right, should be interesting game there. Going about 2 hours, I think, west of there. We got the Raiders and the Bengals. Sid, you start this one.
If the Bengals don't win this game, their whole coaching staff should be fired, especially the way they played last week against the Philadelphia Eagles. The Bengals are favored by 7 points at home. I'm going with Cincinnati and Joe Money, as Christine will call them.
Yeah, I'm going with the Bengals too for this game. Credit though to the Raiders last week for really holding their own against Kansas City. They did not let themselves get rolled over by them. So props to them.
Yeah, they did. Remember, they beat them on last Christmas, so they weren't.
Yep.
On the road, so give them props there. Yeah, I'm picking Sissy too. I mean, like you said, Sid. I mean, Zach Taylor and that coach that better get a pink slip and a link in their link card if they don't win this game. But I digress. All right, you got the Commanders coming off that great, thrilling Hail Mary against the Bears. They face a Giants team that are just, let's just say, at a crossroads, if you will. Christy, you start this one.
Commanders, the Giants are just having one of those interesting years. So I'm going with the Commanders. They're riding on this high right now.
I think the Giants will play better defensively. They actually didn't play that bad at Pittsburgh last Monday night, but that offense is just so schizophrenic. Daniel Jones will be on his last legs out of town in a minute, but I'm going with the Commanders here. I think it's going to be closer than what people think because it's a division game. The Washington Commanders are favored by 4 on the road.
Yeah, I'm picking the Commanders too. I think this is one of those. They had their celebration about the Bears. I think they know that they can look. The division's in their hands now. So I think they're going to use that. It's going to be the first step. So the Giants, they'll keep it close, but I think the Commanders will pull away. Late. The last of the noon games, you got the Patriots and the Titans. Another one of those games I wish we could skip, but I digress.
The Garbage Bowl.
Garbage
I
Bowl.
know the Garbage Bowl. I would say worse than the Garbage Bowl, but I feel for anybody who has to watch this game. Those of you in Boston and Nashville, but I'll say the Patriots. I guess just because they're a little bit better. I don't know.
I don't know what the status is with Drake May at the moment. He could still be out. I don't know. The last time I checked, the status was kind of unclear. So because it's a home game, I'm going with the Titans right now.
Yeah, short and sweet Titans. They're favored by 3.5.
the garbage bowl for anybody else that wants to. Like I said, I pity anybody that has to that has to watch this game. But
What about the
it'll be
people that
interesting to see.
attend the game at the stadium?
Oh gosh, that's a whole different conversation. So we'll see what happens in that game there. First, the 3 o'clock games. The other game, 3 o'clock game on CBS. The Jaguars and the Eagles. Sid, is this should the Eagles be on upset alert?
No. And yours surely will be on high alert because I put Jalen Hurts back in my fantasy football lineup last week after having Jordan Love, but that's a whole nother conversation. But the Eagles dominated their win at Cincinnati last week. Jacksonville, they should have beaten Green Bay. They knocked Jordan Love out of the game, but they forgot to finish it with a victory. But since the Jaguars are on the road, which they are on 4 on the road, they'll be 0-5. I'm going with Philadelphia. Philadelphia is favored by 7.5.
Keeping it short and sweet, going with the Eagles too.
Same here. I mean, it. I know that this is probably going to be one of those last games for the Jags. So that coaching staff, Doug Peterson, I think he might be getting his pink slip and link card after this season. So I'm kicking the Philly Eagles for this matchup here. And one of the games of the week, the CBS Fox's #1 team will be at this game, the Jags and the Eagles. And there's #1 team for CBS. There will they'll have this game here over there with the Eagles. So yeah, that's a problem. But the #1 game for Fox, #1 team there will have this game in NFC North. You got Detroit and Green Bay. It looks like Green Bay's gonna be wearing their old unis the way they have their logo set up. So that should be interesting. They're Detroit and Green Bay. Christine, you start this one for us.
Featuring Tom Brady on the call. Love it. And I'm picking the Lions for this one. I think, after that big win that they had over the Vikings and with Jordan Love still being kind of banged up, I'm not saying that this is going to be an easy win. It's going to be very similar to what everyone saw when the Vikings and the Lions faced off against each other. It's going to be another great divisional matchup. But I think the Lions are going to be able to pull this one out.
I think if you're the Lions, you would prefer Jordan Love to start because even though he's mobile, he's not going to be that mobile because of a growing injury. But if Malik, what you talking about, Willis plays, that's another running aspect that the Lions will have to watch out for, along with Josh Jacobs. Remember, the Lions will still have to adjust without Aiden Hutchinson, and that run defense for the Lions will be tested. But with all that being said, I'm going with Detroit. They're favored by 3 at Lambeau.
Might as well make this sweet Detroit. I mean, I just think that they're kind of. I know, yes, and they're still adjusting without Aiden Hutchinson, but Jameer Gibbs and David Montgomery that run. But then again, look, Green Bay's defense are no slouches, so could be a thrilling matchup. Could come down to perhaps who has the ball last. I think I'm picking the Lions. But if Green Bay somehow wins this, I don't think any of us will be surprised, right? So we'll see.
No.
It should be a fun one. It should be a very entertaining game. I'll be watching this game instead of the other game on CBS, but we'll get to that game in a minute here. But the other game with that Fox doubleheader game, you got the Rams and the Seahawks in the NFC West. I have no clue what's going to happen in this game. Puka Nacua is out. He's going to be out again for the Rams. Cooper Kupp, the trade rumors. I know Sean McVay said that he's not going anywhere, but who knows? Seattle, good Lord, I don't know what to think about the Seattle squad. Someone's got to win this game, I guess. I'll pick the Seahawks since they're at home. I might be wrong again. I was wrong the last couple of weeks about Seattle, so who knows? But I'll pick the Seahawks.
I don't know if they're white. Go ahead, Christine.
No, go ahead, Sid.
Okay. I don't know if DK Metcalf is going to play for the Seahawks. He may play. He didn't play last week and then lost against Buffalo. The Geno Smith and the Seahawks need him desperately. I'm with Lakina just because they're at home. I'm going with the Seahawks.
I'm going with the Rams. I think they're looking pretty good, and that's what kind of happened last season too. All the trade rumors were circulating, and then they had this big surge, and Matthew Stafford is looking really good. Cooper Kupp's looking good. Even though they don't have Puka Nacua, they still have a lot of good weapons on their team, I think.
Should be a good one.
Yeah, the Rams are favored by 1. It's a pick 'em.
Yes. Yeah, so yeah, it should be interesting one up there in Seattle. You're Sunday night game. I'm surprised this one wasn't flex, but you got the Colts and the Vikings. Looks like Joe Flacco is going to be the starter for, I guess, for this foreseeable future. So that's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, Christine's
there in
very
that
happy.
part. Yeah, I know that. I know Christine's eyes lit up when she saw that news a couple of days ago. The Vikings, I know they want to get that. They've had a couple extra days kind of stew on that upset loss to the Rams. This is a good get right game for them. It'll be a close one, but I think I'm picking Minnesota.
I hate that
Yeah.
I have to make this pick because I love Joe Flacco. I really do. And I hope that he does really well after all that drama that happened last week. But I think the Vikings are going to be able to win this game. But that doesn't mean that going forward, the Colts aren't going to be out in the playoff contention talks just because this game may not work out for them. So keep that in mind too if they happen to lose on Sunday.
Make it short and sweet. I'm going with Minnesota. They are favored by 5.5 at home.
Yeah, so they've had 10 days off, so this should definitely be a get right game for them. Now, the Monday Nighter, this will be one of those Monday night matches that will be simulcast on ABC. Of course, you also got the Manning cast with Coach Belichick. You got Tampa Bay and the Chiefs. Christine, you start this one.
Think I gotta go with the Chiefs for this one. Eventually, something is gonna break them. I don't think this is gonna be the game. Granted, Baker has been playing really well this year, given the numbers that he's had. Between him and Patrick Mahomes, I think they have about the same amount of interceptions on the year. So I'd say it's a pretty even battle when it comes to quarterbacks and the capabilities. Injury wise, KC does have more injuries stacked, but I think there's a lot more significant injuries with the Bucks, as in they may not have as many people injured, but the players who are injured will have a heavy impact with the Buccaneers. Godwin, for example, that's a huge loss for the Buccaneers when it comes to their offense. And the same thing with KC too, but they've always found a way to pull it out, and I think that's going to be the case for this game too. The last time I checked, they were favored by 9, I believe.
Make it short and sweet. I'm going with Kansas City, and they are favored by 8.5 now.
Now
so there's
8.5.
some money coming in on the Buccaneers, at least covering the spread.
If you asked me about this game like 2 weeks ago before Chris Godwin got hurt, I probably would have said Tampa Bay. But since he's out, and of course, they have other injuries as well, I'm picking Kansas City. Look, they might surprise us and pull off the upset. Who knows? But I think right now I probably have to face KC. They're going to get to their breaking point. I just don't think it's good. Like Christine says, they're not going to be in this game. So, but we'll see. It should be an interesting one Monday night at Arrowhead. Now, last but not least, you got the Bears and the Cardinals. All the finger pointing, all the talking, all week long, apologizing, waving and everything else.
Ain't nothing to see here. It's cool. It's cool.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, no, we got this. Please. But I know Jonah Williams is going to be out for the Cardinals. They're one of their top left tackles. For the Bears, like Brisker's going to be out again. So you got something to look out for there with the concussion. Kyler Gordon looks like he's going to be, doubtful as well. I honestly don't know. This is another pick'em game, so I don't know which road we're going to get. I'll say hesitantly the Bears, but again, if Arizona somehow wins it, I'm not going to be shocked. But hopefully this will be a get right game for the Bears. But I'm not willing, so I'll say Bears ? I can't count them. Yeah, I'm going to pick the Bears, I guess.
Yep. I kind of said the same thing with my pick, Bears ? Credit to the defense. I mean, if you want to give anyone an award for last week's game, it's the defense. They did their job last weekend by only holding on the Commanders to field goals up until the very last second, if you want to put it into perspective that way. And yeah, there was a lot of finger pointing and blaming. But the one thing that needs to be said is Coach Eberflus has yet to take accountability for his own actions and what he did. in his role in the entire game. He's just as guilty as pointing the fingers as he is for not taking accountability of his own actions during the game. So I think that says something there too, as opposed to the leadership that's happening. And it says that maybe who knows what the future for his status is going to be with the Bears going forward. But it is a question mark for me with this pick. Bears question mark. They need this win, and it shows that maybe they're not totally out of the conversation yet. It is going to be tough since it is a home game for the Cardinals, but at least the weather will be nice. So there's a positive.
Arizona's favored by 2, and you mentioned Matt Eberflus, Christine. I'm sure you heard this statistic this week. In his 20 games coached on the road, he's lost 17 of them. And the Bears are 0-3 away from Soldier Field this year. I'm joining you guys. I'm picking the Bears question mark, but I wouldn't be shocked if Arizona won this game either. If you're the Bears, you're hating on the fans and the media. Oh, they're talking about, is this unfair? Shut us up. Do your job as a team. Play consistent from the first quarter to the last quarter and win the game. You win this game, especially convincingly, well, shut up for a week. This is how this goes. I hope they understand it. We all do. They don't, but I'm going with the Bears. Arizona's favored by 2.
Should be interesting. It will be Iron Eagle, Charles Davis, and Evan Washburn on the call. I apologize to those 3 gentlemen in advance for the whole that they're probably going to talk about with the Bears, what happened last week. But should be interesting the game nonetheless down there in Glendale. It was Second City Sports. Well, those are our picks for NFL Week 9. It was Second City Sports. On Sports Chicago, Keenan McGee, Steve Brown with you as well as our girl Christine Mack with KXRB. Real quick, I know you got a jet in a couple of minutes here, but well, for all you White Sox fans, Will Venable has been Venable. There's no S at the end. I've heard some people say that. He's been picked as the new manager. They made it official. So what do you guys think? I mean, Christine, I'll start with you on this.
I was saying earlier this week, it's so tough to pick a manager for a baseball team because it's not like you're picking a coach for the NBA or the NFL. It's all about a mindset for baseball. It's all about getting someone in a correct mindset for the game. Whereas for football and basketball, it's really all physical. And it is about more so of like a physical performance aspect as opposed to like a mental performance aspect. And when you look at his resume, he's got it. He's part of a recent World Series team. So I'm looking forward to see what his culture is going to be like in the clubhouse. Obviously, Grifol lost his clubhouse early in his tenure with the White Sox, and there was a disconnect there, and we all saw that. So hopefully he's going to bring some life back into the White Sox, not just for the players, not just for the organization within, but for the fans as well.
I'll say this, and this is the reason why I'm happy. Of course, I'm giving Will Venable a chance. I know this is his first time managing a team, but I know he's been mentored by the other managers that he's worked with throughout the years. I remember him as a player, as we talked about Lakina a couple of weeks ago when his name was brought up for the job. The only reason why I'm happy is because, one, this is not, I repeat, NOT, not a Tony La Russa hire. And number 2, Jerry Reinsdorf, this stick his beak in it. He just signed off on it. That's the only 2 reasons why I'm happy. But the way this team looks now is going to look very different come March 27 when they open up the 2025 season at home against your husband's LA Angels, Christine. So will Luis Robert Jr. be part of this team? Who knows? Will Garrett Crochet be traded between now at the start of next year? Who knows? But this team is going to look very different. And I will say this. I still continue to say this team will not be as bad as they were this year. You can't do any worse, can you?
Can't do any worse, no.
Oh no, but
as long as they get players that has a high baseball IQ and they play the game right, play fundamentally sound, I think you'll be okay.
Well, and also we know he's very smart. I mean, he went to Princeton. He's a two-time All Ivy League at Princeton. He actually played in NCAA tournaments in basketball. I remember that game. Princeton and Texas. PJ Tucker was in that game too. He played for Texas at the time. And I mean, look, he's a great athlete. Of course, he played in the league for about a decade. Look, he coach here in Chicago. He has a World Series, like Christine said, from last year against Texas with the Rangers. So it's good. Look, I mean, he has the pedigree. He has, he's got mentors like Joe Madden, Dave Roberts. So that's a pretty good list of people, mentors. So he definitely has that quality about him. They'll be just like, well, they built the players around him. We know they're not gonna get one. So they're not gonna do that. So what free agency are they going to try to get, perhaps maybe turn this thing around pretty quick? So you just don't know in baseball. I mean, like you said, like I said to me, they can't lose like 100. The only they can go is up. So that's the only way they can go now. So yeah, I mean, you got the manager that you want. Now you got to build a team for the chance to win with.
Real quick, Christine, I know you got a boogie, but in 45 seconds or less, what are your thoughts about this year's World Series? The LA Dodgers are your new 2024 World Series champions, and is your husband upset being an Angels fan?
No, I mean we were pretty thrilled for the Dodgers. I know our brother-in-law, he's pretty upset being a Yankees fan. That was a bit of a heartbreaker to see it come crashing down for him.
Oh gosh.
But I mean, Freddie Freeman, holy cow, what a I mean, it doesn't get any better than that for him. So very happy he got the well-deserved MVP there, and great series for the Dodgers. Unfortunate for the Yankees.
Like I said, I'm proud of Michael Kopech, a former White Sox player.
Yeah, when I saw that, I'm like, I'm so happy you were doing well for them and not for the White Sox. So
yeah, what a way from literally from worst to first in 3 months. I mean, isn't that crazy? Like he was part of that. Tommy Edmonds, same thing. So you're happy for Freddie Freeman. He gets his second ring. Happy for Mookie Betts. He gets his third ring. Teoscar Hernandez. They're Kiko Hernandez. They all got their second rings there as well. Walker Buehler, after everything he's went through, injuries.
Shohei got his first.
Yep. Exactly. And we just see, look, they could be even better next year, especially if Juan Soto, goes with them over to the Dodgers. So, I mean, and also too, Dave Roberts. I was chatting with with Lisa Guerrero. Of course, she covered the Dodgers for a few years. Of course, she does Inside Editions, investigative reports. She actually covered the Dodgers back then. She actually posted a photo of her interviewing Dave Roberts when he was playing with the Dodgers at the time, 20 years ago. 20 years ago. And I'm hoping all you Dodgers fans would like to get on Mr. Roberts. Don't you ever question that man ever again, because he was able to kind of do with the with the bullpen and all that. He was able to kind of get that going, and he actually ended up being right. So not a word about Dave Roberts ever again, Dodgers fans. I know they're probably busy because I guess they're getting ready for the parade, because it's going to be coming up in a couple of hours over there in Los Angeles. But no more Dave Roberts slander for all you Dodgers fans ever again.
All right, Christine, we know you got a boogie. Before we let you go, where can people follow you on these lovely social media platforms?
Yeah, they can follow me at @Manika_KXRB on Twitter or X, whatever you call it.
And that bird is long gone.
It is gone, yep.
Yeah, darn updates and refreshes. All right, you gotta go, Christine. We'll talk to you next week, Christine.
All right, bye guys.
All right, take care.
Stay safe. You guys stay safe.
Yeah.
All right. Once again, shout out to of course, that's our girl Christine Mack from KXRB. Of course, again, shout out to the Dodgers for their 8th World Series. And some people say, well, that 2021 didn't count because of the pandemic or whatever. But look, this team kind of, I don't want to say they dominated, but I think in a way, the fact that they didn't win the division by 10 or 12 games, like that kind of definitely helps and got them battle tested, especially with this World Series.
Yeah, especially given the previous 2 years where they had the best record in National League, they got bounced out of the first round. And I know we got to go to break, Lakina, and I'll ask this question. You can answer it on this side or on the flip side of the break. I heard Bill Plaschke, the LA Times sports columnist. He's been there for over 35 years. He was on a local radio show in Los Angeles last week. He said if Dave Roberts would win the World Series this year, which he has, there's 2 World Series titles in his 10-year tenure. He said that Dave Roberts should be a lock for the Hall of Fame, obviously as a manager. Do you agree?
Oh gosh, I mean, like I said, some people probably wouldn't count that first World Series because of the circumstances and such. But the fact that, like like I said, the fact that he used a bullpen, he had, everyone thought that he was crazy. They had injuries all year long. I think this might actually help them in that front because guys were banged up. Like Freddie Freeman, all that he was basically doing on one leg. So, I'm sure, we'll be interested to see, I'm sure he's going to have surgery probably after the parade and such. But yeah, I think this will definitely, I don't know if this will get him in the Hall of Fame, but I think he'll definitely it'll get him close, I think. But yeah, I think he's definitely right there in the borderline.
And let's not forget, and this wasn't reported until yesterday, Freddie Freeman has been dealing with a partially torn rib cartilage tear as well.
Yeah, so the fact that he was able to win MVP, it's just insane. And actually, he joins a pretty good list of 12 players that have won both an MVP and World Series MVP in their careers. He joins a list of guys like Johnny Bench, Roberto Clemente, Raleigh Fingers, Bob Gibson, Reggie Jackson, Brooks Robinson, Frank Robinson, Willie Stargell. Not a bad list. Sandy Koufax, of course, you want to keep with the Dodgers theme. Not a bad list for him to join. The only other person that is not a Hall of Famer is, of course, the late Pete Rose. So yeah, it was definitely Freddie Freeman. The fact that he's been wasn't 100% and still ended up doing what he did. It's just nothing short of remarkable. Very courageous performance by Freeman.
All right. On the flip side, we'll wrap it up with the little Bulls and NBA talk in a special edition of Old School TV Monday, commemorating a special anniversary for a special Hall of Fame person and player. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. You're listening to Sports Zone Chicago.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I needed for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too. These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov, a public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to Second City Sports and the hashtag Football Friday edition. This is our first show for the first month of November. It's the first of the month. I'll digress. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow my Kitty McGee on the Twitter, X, and again, IG.
This is our last segment of the show for today and for the week. So, if you have any last minute questions or comments, you can always hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments to the comment section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you.
Okay, well, the Bulls have done something going to the hardwood here in the NBA. The Bulls have done something they have not done since mid-November 2022. What is that you're asking? Well, they're over 500. Yay! They're 3-2. Well, they're 3-2 in this very, very young season. And they had another comeback. And I think this is like the second comeback they've had. They were down, I think, like 18. And they came back and won their game against. This is going to be one of those things, but unfortunately, there are guys that are banged up. I think Zach LaVine's banged up. I just saw earlier this morning that Patrick Williams, he's now banged up too. So with a big comeback win against the Magic and the Grizzlies, great back-to-back comeback wins there, 3-2. And so, Sid, I honestly don't know what to say about that. 3-2 right now. So I have no clue what to say. They play the Nets tonight in Brooklyn. So what's your synopsis of this young season for the Bulls?
Yes, we talked about doing our NBA preview show a few weeks ago. The Bulls were going to be fun to watch offensively with this fast pace and play routine since DeMar DeRozan is no longer here. They've been playing pretty good offensively, but the only thing that I'm worried about is in their 3 wins, and negating the Wednesday night victory over Orlando, where they shot 38% from 3. For this Bulls team to win, especially the scoring the way they're scoring in their 3 victories, they shot over 45% from 3. We all know that's not going to happen every game. But for this Bulls team to win, they got to shoot damn near perfect 50% to win every game. That pace is not going to hold up for the rest of the year. Now, defensively, we know it's going to be a challenge. Now, they did get that aspect of their game together, as you mentioned, with Orlando the other night. They held them to 99 points, which is something. It looked like a normal score from the 90s and early 2000s. But the way the Bulls are playing offensively, I like it. Josh Giddey, it looks like he's finding his way, but I like the way he's playing. I know he's injured too, but Jalen Smith, who wears number 7, hopefully someone give him better goggles, but I digress. But I like the way he's playing with that energy he's bringing off the bench for Chicago, of course. Zach LaVine is playing like a man on fire that he really wants to be traded. So, and hopefully he gets back in the lineup soon. I know Lonzo Ball is injured with that wrist, and he's going to be reevaluated, I believe, sometime next week. So the Bulls are going to miss him. But the way the Bulls are playing offensively, I like it. But can they be better? Sure. Will they be better with these injuries you just mentioned? That remains to be seen.
Yeah, I saw some highlights. Of course, I can't watch the games on CHSN. No rabbit ears for me. But
no Vaseline like Ice Cube.
No, exactly. But I kind of like what I've seen so far this year for the Bulls. I mean, like you said, 48% from 3. That's what really propelled them in that upset win against Orlando. But yeah, we know it's not going to last very long. We'll see what they do in Brooklyn tonight. But I kind of like how everyone's meshing so far. Which we're still only like 5 games. They're only like 2 weeks into the season, but it's fine. But excuse me, but it'll be interesting. I don't know if the Bulls are able to keep it up. It's nice to see so far. They're over 500 for the first time in almost a year. So excuse me, yay!
Also, too, let's give some love to Kobe White. I know he had a couple of bad games last week, but he came back with 2 huge games against Memphis the other night, and of course against Orlando the other night, where he scored 21 points. He shot 4 of 10 from 3-point range. But what I like about him this year, he's been, and I saw this in the first couple of games of the year, in particular in that game against New Orleans where they lost. They lost in the second half. He's getting to the rim, and whether he's kicking it back out to an open shooter or he's taking it to the hole. He's a great scorer. We all know he's a great shooter, but I like to see him continue to be aggressive, taking the ball to the rack. When your shot's not falling, be aggressive offensively. Be that playmaker that we all know he is, but be more aggressive offensively when your shot's not falling. Take it to the rack.
Yeah, I like his aggression there. So we'll see if he can get better with that as the season goes on. Now, going to the rest of the NBA, I just can see sports on Sports with Chicago, like Keaton McGee, sitting around with you, talking some NBA. I saw this game last night. The Suns, came back down 18, and they beat the Clippers 125, 119. Happy belated birthday to Devin Booker. He just turned 28. He scored 40 points for the Suns. KD kicked in with 18. But yeah, I mean, it was really one of those games where they literally they came back, but they were able to get back into it, and look, they were able to pull away late for the Suns. I mean,
it looks like the Clippers don't like playing their new home against the Phoenix Suns. They're 0-2 there in the new Intruder Dome. It looks nice on TV, by the way.
Yeah, it does.
But the Suns, as you mentioned, they have all their horses healthy last night. And the question I have for the Suns going into it, I like the pickup they had with Tyus Jones. They have a bona fide point guard. But if Beal, Booker, and Durant all stay healthy, play more than 41 games like they did a year ago, if that core three can stay healthy, play at least 60 to 70 games, the Phoenix Suns maybe could do damage, but we still have a long way to go.
But a nice win for them to go 4-1, one of the best records in the league. San Antonio, no problem with Utah. These are last night's games, by the way. Houston, a little bit of upset. They beat Dallas 108-102. Jalen Green had 23 points. Luka kicked in with 29 in a losing effort.
Yeah, what a way to celebrate your rookie contract extension, Mr. Jalen Green. Houston's one of those teams that many people think they can get into the play-in tournament this year. They still have that great young talent. I know they'll have to boost up their roster at some point, but shout out to Jalen Green. Shout out to head coach now in his second year with the team, Ime Udoka. He has those guys playing hard right now.
Could definitely be right there in the thick of it in the 6 through 10 spot in the Western Conference. It's a long jam there. Speaking of that, Memphis with a nice win against Milwaukee, 122-99. John Morant, at least so far, so good. He's on his best behavior. 26 points for Mr. Morant. Giannis kicking in with 37 points and losing effort there. But there was actually a rumor going on out there that I find a little bit funny. If you want to talk about trades, we're only like 2 weeks into the season. But with the Bucks are now, and they're not off to a great start in this very young season. I guess some people are saying that Giannis, they're 1-4 so far as we're recording this, on what the Bucks are, and some are saying that maybe Miami and Philadelphia might be trade options for the Bucks for Giannis. I just find it hilarious. I guess someone was been playing with their NBA trade machines this early this season, but I just wanted to put that out there because how ridiculous it sounds.
Yeah, on the flip side for Memphis, too bad John Morant didn't play against the Bulls the other night because he was injured. The Memphis would have won that game, but I digress. But on the flip side for Milwaukee, if they still around under 500 by the end of November, then it'll become a problem. But we're only 2 weeks into the season. You shouldn't be too worried about, not yet anyway.
Today's games, real quick, of course, we saw that they're over. The Clippers are in their new arena. They lost being edged out by the Trailblazers. 105 for Simons had 25 points for them. Norman Powell was that for the Clippers had 30. Golden State can win without Steph Curry. Buddy Hield 21 points, leading the way for the Warriors. There, he's going about to pick up the slack since Steph's gonna be hurt for a little bit. OKC with a nice win, comeback win against San Antonio. That's an ESPN doubleheader game. That's the first game of that one. Of course, Brooklyn beat Memphis. Coach John Morant was out that game. Of course, talking about the Bulls in Orlando. He holding it to 99. The Knicks coming off that back from the loss earlier this week. They beat Miami. Washington beat Atlanta. Detroit beat Philadelphia. And Indiana with a nice win in overtime against the Celtics, 135-132. So if you took the over in that game, you had a nice little midweek there. The Cavs beat the Lakers. Cavs looking pretty good so far this year. And the Hornets beat the Raptors, edged out the Raptors 138-133 on Wednesday.
I kind of agree with our guy, Big Dave Watson from CSGO Bulls, that Charlotte, if they stay healthy, they could be a play-in tournament team this year in the Eastern Conference. LaMelo Ball is very good, but he's been injured the last couple of years. He really makes that team go. And I had a chance to watch some of their couple of their games so far this year. They look pretty good. And as far as the Cleveland Lakers game goes, or went rather, I know the Lakers have lost their last two games on their current road trip. Congrats to Bronny James for scoring his first NBA point in Cleveland. That was purposely set up too. The Lakers were blown out, of course. JJ Redick puts Bronny James in, and Bronny scores his first NBA point on a turnaround jumper. Great moment for him. But as far as the Lakers are concerned, I'm not too worried about them yet. They lost a tough one on Tuesday to Phoenix, but it was the second of a back-to-back against Cleveland. You should be too worried yet. But if they can't finish out this road trip strong over the weekend, I think there'll be a problem.
Could be interesting to see how the Lakers respond. I mean, you're good for Bronny for getting his first points, but like I said, that game was already over with by then, so it's kind of I don't want to say they were garbage points because they were his first points, but it was kind of in garbage time. So yeah, it really doesn't really didn't make a difference there. So but again, it was a nice moment that he shared with his dad. That was really cool and very interesting to see. So yeah, but I think the Lakers, not too worried about them right now. Go on the road this early in the season. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with that. But I'm not worried about the Lakers just yet. Look, if you'll come back to me like the end of the month, and if they're still still struggling, I think we'll see what happens there. And I don't know if that's what you call it calling, but
that's JJ Redick calling.
Yeah, probably Coach Redick calling, but we'll see. Going to Tuesday's games, Golden State with a nice win against the Pelicans. Like I said, they're playing pretty well without Steph right now. Like I said, Buddy Hield was stepping up. Sacramento, no trouble with Utah. Dallas beat Minnesota. That was a thrilling game. I saw a little bit of that game too. That was the first game of the TNT doubleheader. And Denver in a thriller over Brooklyn, 144-139 in OT. So if you took the over in that game, you had a pretty good start to your week. So that was a nice showing there by like I say, definitely really needed because it kind of had a little bit early on this year.
Yeah, Denver coming out of the gate struggling to start the year, but we all know they can score the ball with anybody in basketball. But their problem is going to be lack of depth in on their bench outside of Russell Westbrook, and how this team can play together defensively, because that was another key element that people don't talk about. I'm talking about with Denver when they won a title a couple of years ago. And right now, with that score you just said, they need to tighten up their defense. So we'll see how Denver works on that aspect going forward.
Gonna be just to see what happens there. A lot of games on Monday, so I won't go through all of them. But I won't go through all of them. But I'll go through the top ones, of course. Phoenix, they edged out the Lakers 109-105. Dallas, no trouble with Utah. We talked about the Bulls game, of course. No trouble for that Grizzlies game. They probably would have lost that game. The Nuggets edged out the Raptors. Miami, no trouble with Detroit. Boston and Milwaukee, 119-108 there, and in Orlando upset Indiana 119-115.
All right, here comes your schedule for this weekend's games in the NBA, starting with tonight. Boston is at Charlotte. Orlando is at Cleveland. The rematch of last year's first round playoff series. That game can be seen on ESPN at 6 o'clock. New York travels to Detroit to take on the Pistons. Sacramento visits Atlanta. The Bulls, as you mentioned, Lakina, they'll visit Brooklyn to take on the Nets. The Lakers will continue their East Coast road trip. They'll take on Toronto tonight. Indiana will play New Orleans. The second game of the ESPN Friday night doubleheader at 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time is the rematch of last year's second round series between Denver and Minnesota. And OKC, the Thunder will pay a visit to the Pacific Northwest. They'll face the Portland Trail Blazers tonight at 9.
definitely gonna have revenge on the mind for that Denver Minnesota game. That should be interesting. There tomorrow's game, Saturday. You got Boston and Charlotte. You got Memphis and Philadelphia. Philadelphia, I know a lot of their guys are hurt right now. We'll just see how that plays out. There, Sacramento and Toronto. They continue their East Coast trip. I'm talking about Sacramento. Golden State and Houston at 7 o'clock tomorrow. Cleveland and Milwaukee. That should be interesting. There, Minnesota and San Antonio. That should be a good one there. Minnesota coming off a back-to-back, so that should be interesting how they look. Tomorrow, you got Miami and Washington. That's going to be the NBA TV game of the week. That will be at 8:30. You got Utah and Denver at 9. You got Portland and Phoenix at 9. Of course, Portland going off a back-to-back. And the Clippers will try to get their first win in that new arena as they host OKC at 9:30.
I'm looking forward to that Thunder Clippers game. And speaking of that Heat versus game, this will be the first game off of American soil this year. The Heat versus game will take place in Mexico City. Wrapping up the Sunday schedule. Detroit will visit Brooklyn. Atlanta will visit New Orleans. And Orlando will face the Dallas Mavericks. That's your schedule for Sunday and for the weekend in the National Basketball Association.
You listen to Second City Sports Channel, Sports Chicago, Keena McGee, Brown with you. Now, before we get to Old School TV Monday, said apparently, I guess someone's been posting the ratings so far for the NBA. And I guess they're saying that, they're down 30%. See the NBA. Well, okay, guys, look. We're still in the middle of football season. You got the MLB playoffs. Plus, look where they started. So I think no one really watches the NBA until right before Thanksgiving or right after Thanksgiving. So people need to just chill on the, oh my God, the Rays talk. Like, stop, please. Don't start, guys. But I digress.
Yeah, like you said, let's not forget about college football, who have been seeing record numbers this year because this is the first year of the 12-team playoff as well. So, like you said, we're right in the middle of both college and NFL. Like I said, the baseball playoffs just ended the other night, so the NBA knows this as well as you and I do. The casual fan doesn't start watching until after Thanksgiving, right at Christmas Day anyway. So I don't know what the fake outrage is about. We already know this is going in.
Could be ready to see what happens there. Now, anything else before to our special edition of Old School TV Monday?
The Blackhawks won the other night. I'm glad to see that. But this is a team that still is going to – I'm not going to say they're going to struggle for wins. At times they will, but I think they're going to put it together eventually to become a better team. But they still have a long way to go. But I think they'll be interesting to watch just like the Bulls. So, and as of this live broadcast, no real update between the good folks at Comcast and CHSN. They still had a standstill. I'm using air quotes for that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just fascinated. Of course, there was the schedule. The statement that came out. Then they said, well, now you can switch over to the DirecTV stream if you want to watch it, because of course they got the AT&T and Direct TV contract with them. Of course, Fubo TV as well. But that's not gonna. That's not the hustle they think that is. So, but I digress.
Yeah, I know people, as others are going to say, well, there's the antenna. Yeah, there is the antenna, but people like yours truly like to, especially the work that we do, we like to pause and rewind on live TV. I'm not going to buy some cheap-ass converter. I'm not going to do all that. If you have a cable service like I do with Comcast, they have all that, all those settings as part of your package anyway. So why would I have to buy an extra converter, which I will rarely use? Nonsense. That's just me.
Yeah, but plus you gotta you get to check for signals and such. It's a pain in the butt. I heard a couple of people were talking about they did put it in there. It just took about 100 years just for forget it. So hopefully they'll figure out something. I doubt it, but I don't know. But it's a Rick Ballsell is good from the clips I saw. I know they lost last night to the Blackhawks to the Sharks, so that was a tough loss for them for the highlights I saw. But Rick Ballsell and Derek Payne sound good together. That's all that I could say about that telecast. But I can't watch it. But
here's the thing, real quickly, Keena. I know a couple of people. I saw a couple of tweets over the last few weeks about the antenna. You can use the antenna to view the new CHSN. If you live in a high rise, it's going to be even tough. At least yours truly can open his window a little bit. But if you live in a high rise, it's going to be tough.
Oh, it's going to be brutal. So, So to be continued once again, as they say. And, it's going to be interesting to see if any progress is made. I doubt it, but especially with now, of course, we talked about it right before the end of our show on Monday. Of course, our buddy Lawrence Holmes from the Score posted about potential prices for the apps. Needs to say, this not to go over very well with some folks. So it's no,
and rightfully
not
so.
happening.
As we told you over
Right.
the summer, we didn't know how all this was going to play out in terms of pricing. But as we said, if it's with all three teams in the rebuild, if you're going to overcharge it with everything that's going up these days, from everything from food to entertainment, and with three struggling rebuilding franchises, if you're going to try to pull one over our heads, you're going to get great pushback, and that's what we're seeing right now.
You better not buy tickets to a couple of these. You get your season tickets for a couple of these Skybox seats for a couple of those teams. Kind of play for an app, but again, whatever. I digress.
All right, you listen to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid Lakina here with you. All right, we'll try not to make this quote unquote sad, but it's an important day in NFL history and, of course, in Chicago sports history. This is a little bit of a special edition of Old School TV Monday. 25 years ago today, we lost the Pro Football Hall of Fame legend, a Chicago sports legend. His name is the great Walter Payton. He passed away at the age of 45 due to a rare kidney disease. Lakina, before I get to my story time, where were you 25 years ago today when that news was announced that Walter Payton passed?
I was just getting out of school. That I was my senior year of high school, and I got out early, so I was able to kind of. I think I heard one of my friends. I remember because we were in computer class and we were just finishing up our assignment for the day, and our teacher was really cool about it. But we were kind of we meandered online because we were finished with our project and such, and I saw on the thing, there was this was before Twitter and Facebook, folks. So I saw something. I think someone said, "Oh my gosh!" I was like, I wonder what my friend was talking about at the time. I didn't know. It wasn't until I got home. I saw that the news. They actually interrupted the news because it was right before 3:00 when I got home, and I heard Jim Rose, of course, at ABC 7 at the time, talking about that Walter Payton had passed, and I was shocked. Because we all remember when he made the announcement that he had that rare kidney disease, and I think his brother even tried to give him a transplant, and unfortunately, he didn't have, I guess, there was a blood type or something, or the tissues or whatever. It got a little scientific, but everyone just stopped. It was literally one of those days where everyone just stopped, and it was just unfortunate that we couldn't they couldn't get because they were trying really hard to try to get a cure for this disease that he had, and it was tough. I know that that next home game for the Bears, I know that they actually won that game, and it was pretty somber for a little bit. It was it was somber because he passed, but it was also a celebration of his life and what he did for not just for on the field, but off the field as well. How much he was beloved by even his rival. So it was really good to see kind of that camaraderie there on the NFL. It was kind of a national day of mourning that weekend in the NFL.
I was in the beginning of my freshman year at NIU, Northern Illinois University, of those of you scoring at home. And I like you, I was in between classes, and I turned on the TV and I saw that Walter Payton had passed. We knew that he was sick for a while, but still, when you hear the news, it still shakes you. And I called my mom back at home. She was in shock as well. And so, and like you say, it kind of ripple effect all around Chicago, of course, all around the country and all around the NFL. Of course, remember the Bears played the Packers that Sunday in Lambeau Field. I remember John Madden and Pat Summerall did the game for Fox. And remember, both those teams were struggling there. Of course, both teams missed the playoffs. But Brian Robinson blocked that field goal, the potential game-winning field goal by Ryan Longwell. And, of course, Brian Robinson said after the game, he gave credit to Walter Payton for helping him jump up in the air and block that field goal.
He said, he had a lift. I try not to get those were his quotes. He had a lift. He got a lift. He said, kind of lift. I remember his quote when he said that.
I'll try not to get emotional about it, but like you said, the love that was shared throughout the whole NFL and throughout the whole the entire country, it was a beautiful thing to see. Even though you didn't want Walter Payton to pass, but it was still in an emotional time, just because we were kids looking toward the latter stages of his career. And I remember paying attention to him before he retired. I was like, I really didn't get to see him in his prime, but he was still pretty damn good his last 2 years that in the league that I was aware of him. And I'll take you back to January of '99. Early in that year, I was just finishing up my senior year in high school. And if you remember, for those of you that are age older that remember, if you know your Chicago radio history, Walter Payton had a show on at that time sports radio, the Score Sports Radio, Yo 1160, as Steve Rosenbluth would call it, and he announced his that he had a health challenge. Of course, remember, which turned out to be anyway on that day that his son Jared, friend of the show, now WGN GN Sports TV anchor, Jared Payton. That was the announcement that Jared Payton was going to choose the college. Of course, he chose the University of Miami. Of course, during the Monster Show with Mike North and Dan Jiggs, of course, Walter Payton announced that he had that rare kidney disease, and he said, "For the people," I'm just paraphrasing a little bit, and for the people that had something to say about me, I pray for you also. And I'll never forget the headline in the Sun Times, in the Chicago Sun Times. That next morning, I picked up the paper from my mom. Hell yeah, I'm scared, and that's something that struck with me then, and it still strikes me now. And of course, if you really know your history, I don't want to go over it too much, but if you remember Margie and Grogo's comments on ABC7, to be fair to him, he didn't know how sick he was.
He didn't know how. He didn't know. Yeah,
I'll leave it at that. And what I remember at that time, listen to everybody on the radio from the Score and all the FM stations that talked about Walter, because this was breaking news. I don't know if you remember, Lakina. I actually started listening to this station a couple years ago in my rotation, V103. If you know your Chicago's radio history, you know this. They started out in the mornings, and at this time, they were in the afternoons. John Bonds, Bonnie DeShong, radio legend, and Chicago's very own, the comedian George Wilborn. I remember they took calls on their station.
Yep, they did.
And not to make a big deal out of it than it already is, Lakina, but if you heard those listeners on that afternoon show on Vita 103, you would have thought that Margie and Grego called Walter Payton every dirty name in the book. They wanted him castrated and thrown in the Chicago River. I'm not trying to be funny when I say that, but it was a really touchy time, and it was really tough. And of course, Walter Payton made one of his, if not his last public appearance, remember on opening day in 1999 for the Cubs when he threw out that first pitch. And that's when that comment came out with Margie and Grego. Of course, all hell broke loose for him for a while. But the two programs that I recommend, which is now the special edition of Old School TV Monday, is Walter Payton Sports Century. You can find that on YouTube.
Yes.
And one of the, if not one of the best, if not the best episode from NFL Network of Football Life, Walter Payton. Type that in. Also is available on YouTube. That was produced in 2011. That was a very great episode. They really nailed it on the head. They talked about, it was produced by NFL Films. They talked about all aspects of his life. So I recommend those two programs. For those of you that don't know or know very little about Walter Payton, watch those two programs this weekend. It's available on YouTube.
Yeah, it's all right there. Probably one of the better episodes of Sports Century when ESPN did all that. We got to talk about that as a whole, that program as a whole at some point for Old School TV Mondays, because I think they did a really nice job of getting that. But yeah, the NFL Films one really kind of goes really in depth of the disease and stuff. And I think his wife Connie still does work within to try to get a cure for that disease. We know that I don't know what Brittany's doing. I know she still works in television. I know she did Chicago's Best for a little bit on WGN. We know we've had Jared on the show a couple of times. We got to try to get him back on to at some point. I know he posted some flashback photos with his dad and such. So I know it was the most.
Yeah, did you check out his post this morning? Writing a letter to his dad. That was very beautiful.
Yeah, I did. That was very sweet. If you guys, look at that. Check that out on his social media page, Peyton's son, Peyton's son SON, right there on his Twitter. But I'm sure he got his Instagram as well. But that was really a sweet, touching moment for that, and that whole thing kind of was very sweet. And I remember Margie Agrico's comments. I know that was kind of the beginning of the end for him here in Chicago. It took him about 20 years, but that was kind of like. I know people wanted to. He regretted it. If you ask him, I'm sure he still regrets it. But that kind of started the whole snowball effect, if you will. Just imagine that happened today. Just for
it'll be totally different. But I will say this: even though the NFL films, so Football Life on Walter Payton, they did cover that subject about Margie Greco, who's in it, by the way. Spoiler alert. They did cover that. We won't get into it too much, but if you really know both sides of that story, I know this is unpopular. I don't give a damn about popularity. I give a damn about the truth. The truth is, and even Mike Jean Greco said it, no one knew how sick he was at that time. And if you know Mark Jean Greco, he's sarcastic, but he's very funny. That's why he lasted in the business so long. But no one knew how sick Walter was. And that's the truth. No one knew.
Yeah. Yeah, the only people that knew about his disease at the time were, of course, his family, of course, his wife, kids, brother, Eddie. I think Eddie still works at the foundation, that with all that. But yeah, I don't think only his family. I think I remember Richard Dent saying that none of them, most of his teammates didn't know. I know Walter Payton and Matt Stewie were pretty close. I think I remember Matt saying that he didn't know either how sick he was. I don't think no one did. So that kind of tells you how a private person that Walter was. He didn't want to make a big deal about it, wanted to be a burden to anyone. So that's the kind of person he was. So I think that I think Jared posted something about their friendship, him and JP, his dad and Matt Stewie's friendship. I know they did an interview. He did an interview with Matt too. So yeah, I know they're still very close. I know he's still close with a lot of those guys and the 80s Bears. And I remember watching his last game, and it was on NBC. Remember, it was kind of like one of those inter-conference matchups. I think they were playing the Chargers. And it was kind of like you saw how emotional he got. This was back in '87. You saw how emotional he got, and it was interesting because you wonder like what's the injuries and such. No one really knows how he got that kidney disease because there was no. It didn't run their family, but yeah, it'll be interesting. If you guys see that, get a chance to watch it. It was on NBC. That Chargers Bears game from 1987 in his last game. You saw how emotional he got after, during and afterwards. But yeah, it was a very touching moment. But yeah, it was just still has that still has an impact to this day, even though it's been 25 years.
Yeah, and also too, his last game, of course, they lost to the then Washington Redskins in '87 in the playoffs. Of course, he sat on the bench by himself.
Yeah,
and he realized that it was all over. But of course, he had a hell of a career, Hall of Fame player, Hall of Fame person. Rest in power, Walter Payton. Of course, this is an anniversary that we lost him 25 years ago today. All right, Lakina, close us out.
You can follow me at Keena McGee on the Twitter, X, and Keena McGee on the IG.
You can follow your Shirley Sidney Brown on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80. Be sure to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms. Please subscribe to our podcast. We are located at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And while you're at it, give War Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
Be sure to catch Second City Sports live in the 11 color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Sports Zone Chicago. One more again, as the kids would say. Be sure to catch Second City Sports live in the 11 color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
And hopefully we'll get the stuff fixed on the Roku app. But once we do, we can catch us anytime, anywhere on Roku TV. On the Roku TV where we get your apps, like your Play Store. Type in Sports Zone Chicago. Catch the replays of our show, Sean and Maya, the Smoke Fellas, and a whole lot more. Catch Sports Zone Chicago anytime, anywhere on Roku TV. Once it's your fix.
And we will provide.
And of course, we want to thank our girl Christine Mack from KXRB for joining us once again. Hopefully, she'll be back with us on her regular time, so we can get a little bit more time with her. Cover all the sports and such. But yeah, so you've got week 9 of college, week 10 of college football, of course, week 9 of the NFL season. Got the NBA, of course. You're getting for college hoops. Gonna be starting on Monday. You got kind of like sports coming up. Of course, you got soccer as well if you're into that. The NWSL, I think they start their playoffs. I think the Red Sox are still in it. So all right there for you. So yeah. So for Sid, I'm the Kansas Second City Sports. I'm Chicago. We'll see you guys next week. Stay safe, everybody.
Dog Bears, holla!
And vote too if you have not already. Vote.